Hi, I'm Sydney,
And I'm Elizabeth.
and we are
We
we are
are
two
two
of
of
us
us
chatting.
chatting.
Um, so we are a daughter and mother team duo. The two
The two.
and the two chatting. Um, and I'm gonna read something I wrote. So we are a daughter mother team who want to share our time and company with you.
With you.
We've often noticed a pattern in our lives and while observing others
Absolutely.
that certain topics, such as mental health, can be hard to bridge the generational gap. Our goal is to chat about it and hopefully bring more empathy and understanding into all of our lives.
Absolutely. So, our first episode, we thought we would tackle OCD. Sid was diagnosed with OCD several years ago and had to receive intense treatment for said OCD. Now, I was clearly aware she had this at a very young age, but again, we're talking about generations here. So I came from the generation when someone said you have OCD, that meant you either wash your hands all the time or your house is profoundly clean. That is a mistake.
If you take one look at anything I own, you'll see that it's not clean.
Oh, not clean. So at a very young age, Sid would do things like lining things up in color and size and with her dolls, and she would talk to them. And then later on, she had developed what we thought was a very proper little child, but really she had developed this social OCD where things had to be in its place. And so my learning curve was I was unaware that there were different forms of OCD, and within said person that can evolve. So I was often not looking for the clues because a lot of times you think things fix themselves. Again, it part of it is parents will go into denial. There is a not my child, or it'll go away, or it's not that bad. You can get over it. See, it's OCD. It fixes itself. There's ignorance on my part. So I started asking questions.
Oh, yeah. Especially, like, there's definitely, I was thinking about this in the shower. There's this notion that, like, oh, if you have OCD, then it's going to help you in your life. And it doesn't, it only hinders you.
Yeah, because there's that running joke, OCD, friend to me. That's cruel, and it's a mean thing to say. And I used to say it thinking that because she had OCD, it was going to be very helpful in my life. And that was very cruel of me to say. But again, that was my ignorance, not realizing that it was making matters worse. So this is why we want to talk about these things. This is not me wanting to get online to make a mea culpa. What this is me understanding the evolution and perhaps helping others understand the evolution. Again, because I also came from that generation where also you didn't get help. And when you did, especially for women, and if you did get help, you just kept it quiet, you know? So we're opening up. So we hope you open up with us. Also, we are not medical professionals
By any
means. Entertainment purposes only, mom and daughter. So we want to be here with you as a mother and daughter. We want you to participate by leaving your comments and if there's any way we can help you. But remember, as we're going along, and we will leave a link below, we encourage people to seek help.
Mm-hmm.
Seek help.
So, and that brings me into my next point beautifully. A lot of the information that I will be sharing is from the International OCD Foundation, which their website is iocdf.org. And um and also these two books
Highly recommend.
That I highly recommend. The Mindfulness Workbook for OCD by John Hirschfield, and also the Self-Compassion Workbook for OCD by Kimberly Quinlan. Every person who has OCD should use this workbook. It's so good.
And she has brought this to me saying, this is what I'm doing. This is how I'm working through it. And it's helped me tremendously because sometimes we all, normal folk, we have tics and like there really is, but we have tics and things that happen in our lives. And this is profoundly helpful. So this is why we want to bring this to you today. So,
good job. So, first off, I want to talk about the actual definition of OCD. We love a good definition.
We love a good definition.
So, this definition I pulled directly from the IOCD website. So, OCD occurs when a person gets caught in a cycle of obsessions and compulsions. Obsessions are unwanted, intrusive thoughts, images, or urges that trigger intensely distressing feeling.
Now, I'm just going to pause for a second. This can be mistaken for just depression. People will just say, oh, I'm just depressed. There's nothing wrong with me. Let's go farther into it because it can be very depressing, but there's a plethora more to it. So just reading that part of the definition, that part of it, someone like myself would say, oh, well, she's just depressed. We'll just do something to make her feel better.
Mm-hmm. And I think there's also a misunderstanding of what intrusive thoughts are.
Indeed.
There's a big trend on TikTok right now where people will say, oh, I let the intrusive thoughts win, when they really mean impulsive thoughts. And so when people hear actual intrusive thoughts, which is what I'll explain later and go into a little bit more detail with, and I will give a trigger warning when I'm talking about those thoughts because they are extremely distressing to hear. Compulsions are behaviors an individual engages in to attempt to get rid of the obsessions and or decrease distress. So that is where we see, oh, I'm going to go wash my hands. Oh, I'm going to take a shower. Oh, I'm going to clean. I'm going to do this. I'm going to.
That's where someone like us think it's a stereotype.
Yeah. Well, when you're, and this goes for literally anybody in your life, a lot of times when you're seeing something, you're only seeing a reaction.
Correct.
You're not seeing the reason why that person is doing something.
Right. And sometimes if it's somebody we're not really invested in, if it's like someone we just see or whatever, we tend to be less compassionate and we don't see what's under the surface. And I think part of the reason why we want to do these videos is we want to show people what's under the surface in any given situation. And that's what we really want to chat about.
We're going to chat about it. Excellent.
Okay, so let's go on.
So, disclaimer that I have in here, it's important to note that anyone can experience intrusive and or distressing thoughts, but the OCD mind is wired differently.
Exactly. So why don't we go on so people can understand
the brain. Let's talk
about the brain.
So, part of the brain that everyone has is called the amygdala. I forgot to write down what the definition of the amygdala was.
Hold, please.
Hold, please.
Okay.
This
might be edited. We don't know.
It probably will be.
Yeah.
So, cut. So, the amygdala is a roughly almond-shaped mass of gray matter inside each cerebral hemisphere involved with the experiencing of emotions. The main function of the amygdala is processing fearful and threatening stimuli. That's the important part, processing. And that is from Oxford Dictionary. So thank you, Oxford Dictionary.
That, so basically, is that the fight or flight part of you?
Yes, fight, flight, or freeze.
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 Forgot about that.
So people with OCD, it is theorized that people with OCD, looking at brain scans, have an overactive amygdala.
Okay.
And they also overproduce cortisol,
Yes.
which is a hormone. And cortisol.
So here's the thing: is when with that hormone. So someone with OCD in the middle of a situation, they'd have to go to the bathroom a lot.
Oh yeah, that's why like IBS is very common in people who have OCD.
Yes. Yes.
You get the doo-doos.
So you see what we're leaning towards? Bathroom time, frequent.
So be nice to your IBS having friends.
That's right. Be very kind.
Struggling.
The struggle is real, as is the emotion.
That was literally my point about cortisol. About the doo-doos. So that's why the OCD brain is different, because it doesn't process emotional stimuli like a typical normal brain would. My therapist puts it as like canary in a coal mine.
Right.
My canary is always yelling. It's always thinks that something dangerous happened, even though the dangerous thing that is happening is just me thinking. So we're gonna go into the self-compassion workbook. So some subtypes of OCD. Trigger warning, we are going to be talking about pedophilia and postpartum depression. So the first one that I experience is contamination OCD. So with contamination, I am going to be reading out of this book. So just to let you know, I am citing this. And that can also, that was literally just a compulsion as an example. I am thinking ahead of like, oh my god, what if I am plagiarizing? Oh my god, what if I'm gonna get arrested? Like it goes straight to that. Contamination OCD is the fear and uncertainty that germs, chemicals, and other contaminants will make one sick or even terminally ill. OCD also includes obsession of repulsion and disgust. Yeah, like smelling bad. I'm terrified of smelling bad.
Because she is obsessed with soap.
Oh my god, I love soap.
But this is something this is one of her childhood ones that have carried into her adulthood. Because as a young child, she would love things in her Christmas stocking or Christmas present. She would always tell people, even like 6 or 7 years old, what do you want for Christmas? Soap. Soap. She wanted soap. She wanted body spray. She wanted perfume. And this started around 6 years old. She wanted soap. Books and soap. Books and soap. That's all she ever asked for. And can't keep, I'm sure Santa Claus has a lot of books and soap, but that's all she wanted. So.
Symmetry OCD. Sorry, on to the next one.
No, let's just keep it moving.
Symmetry OCD, the anxiety and discomfort that objects are not lined up correctly, are asymmetrical, or are not in a particular pattern. I personally don't really have this one.
She does not.
Like, if I'm in a social setting that I feel uncomfortable with, I will, adjust, knives and, cutlery or, anything around me just so I have something to control, because I feel so out of control with my own emotions.
there's a power in that one. You ever go into someone's office and like everything has a specific place, and if you move it, they know. Part of that is there is a deep comfort zone in that one, where when everything is symmetrical, when everything is lined up, it brings them down to a place where they can think. So again, if you know someone with that particular one, don't move their stuff around.
Don't be mean.
Don't be mean about it.
I hate it when people like go out of their way to do something that they know will trigger someone's OCD.
Yeah.
It's fucking mean.
It is. And again, and part of the reason we want to start explaining things and talking is just for people to understand. And when you understand something, you're more humane.
Mm-hmm.
There.
Especially like I know people with symmetry OCD that if something is like moved or off kilter, they literally feel like they're dying.
Yeah.
It's the same amount of fear as like someone coming up and trying to fight you.
Right. It's like being chased by a lion. I mean, it can be that extreme. So again, please be mindful with that one. It's not a joke. And I know a lot of people in this world make a joke particularly about that one because it's the most common one people know of. But let's be kind about that one. Okay.
So the next one is sexual orientation OCD, which not a lot of people know about.
No, they do not.
So it is the fear and uncertainty surrounding one's sexual orientation. In the past, this obsession was commonly called homosexual OCD, but because obsessions can become focused on any sexual orientation, we now use the inclusive term sexual orientation OCD, because a person of any sexual orientation can struggle with the uncertainty of having or developing a different orientation. Obsessions surrounding one's gender identity are also common. I do have this one.
Yes.
So I'm a lesbian, but I get caught in this loop of what if it's stupid because it's never gonna happen.
It's never gonna happen. But please share.
That like one day I'm gonna be forced to marry a man, or like what if I'm really not a lesbian and I'm just doing it for whatever reason, or like one day I'm gonna look at myself in the mirror and my entire identity was a lie.
Right. Now this is one of those ones, if I can jump in, that the world around us intrudes on that particular one.
Just right OCD. The fear and discomfort related to experiencing a not right feeling. This subtype of OCD can be fixed with the individual always feeling that things need to be a precise and particular way, or ever changing, with the individual's feeling of rightness changing depending on what feels right at that moment.
That's like right fighting OCD.
No, it's the worst. Like
it's the worst.
It's the worst because it changes day to day.
Oof,
it changes minute to minute. Oh yeah,
that's painful.
Like mine, a big one for me is like if I feel a sensation, then I have to continue feeling that sensation until it feels okay. What?
Keep going.
You gonna make a sex joke?
It sounds like a sex joke. Did it not sound like a sex joke?
No, I mean like if I get this is gonna sound like a sex joke too.
I'm gonna grab a shit for this shit. Go, girl.
Like if one of my hands gets wait, one of my hands.
This is us on a daily basis, so
gets wet, then my other hand needs to get wet.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, do you ever go get a massage and someone massages your hand? You feel like you have to have the other one massaged, or if someone massages part of your back, you suddenly feel off kilter.
Yeah.
That's what this is. I
That's
just
a good
the way you said it was just damn funny.
That's not what I meant.
What you meant, what you said, girl. Just saying.
Okay. Now to a more serious one. We're gonna bring the mood down real quick.
We're crashing.
So harm OCD. The fear and uncertainty around whether one could or did accidentally or intentionally hurt others or oneself. So this one is why I don't drive. Driving, when I get behind the wheel of a car, I immediately think about, what if I accidentally kill someone?
This is a what ifer. This is a really bad what ifer.
Yeah.
What if? This is a really destructive one. And so this is one of those ones, if you know someone who has this form of OCD, listen. Don't dismiss what they're thinking. Don't say, oh, that'll never happen. Oh, you're being ridiculous. Let them speak the whole thing out. Let them carry out the scenario. And then, if need be, it's, well, let's see if there's a safer way to look at that. Or, again, when you have someone with OCD in your life, you're not the leader. They're the leader. You are you need to support them in ways that it's always about listening, asking questions, and looking for solutions.
Oh, good. Yeah, good job.
Great.
So another part of this OCD that I have is, for a while I couldn't use knives.
Oh, I know.
Because I would be afraid that if I had a knife in your hand and I either turned around or I wasn't paying attention, because I don't pay no attention to all other things, I would either cut off my finger or I would turn around and accidentally stab someone. And then they would die. And then I would die.
And she would die. And everybody would die.
Everyone would be dead.
End of that conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that one's a tough one too.
And I think another compulsion that I had that I think also falls into this subtype was when we lived in an apartment when we first moved to North Carolina, we had a balcony.
Oh, damn.
So I was always really concerned that one of you had fallen off the balcony. Every time you guys left my view, I was
just having a cigarette and a cup of coffee.
I was like, no, they're dead. They are dead. Usually, I feel like I was pretty good at making it look subtle.
You're funny. You're funny.
A couple times with him, I would just open the door and look at him, and then close the door. Go away. Mm-hmm. And I would do that 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Real subtle.
It's really funny, when you look, because
some things you can laugh about, and not everything is so serious and dramatic. This is not Shakespeare here, which actually is not always serious and dramatic. But this is why we want to talk about it. We want to open up the doors and the windows to this, that, this doesn't have to be about tears. This can actually be about laughter.
Keep the doors and windows closed.
Open them up. All right, let's go.
Okay. This is where we're coming to the trigger warning.
Trigger warning, please. Please, trigger warning.
So, pedophilia, OCD. This one's going to be real hard for me to talk about, just as a warning.
That's hard for everyone. We can just read the definition and move on.
Can you read this one?
I can see. POCD, the fear and uncertainty related to being or becoming a pedophile. Common POCD obsessions include fear related to possibly being aroused by or attracted to a minor, or the fear of intentionally or unintentionally having performed a specific behavior with a manner in the past or doing so in the future. This is a profoundly, profoundly difficult subject to talk about. There are many of us who have in our lives experienced unwanted, as a young person, unwanted touching. No one wants that.
No one likes a toucher.
No one likes a fucking toucher. And this can manifest into a very traumatic fear, especially if something happens to you as a young person, as it did to me as a very, very little kid. And choking. And
she's overclamped.
So this one can manifest real quickly, but just know, because something happened to you as a child does not mean you're going to grow up to be that person. Just because something terrible happened to you as a child or a young person does not mean in any way you will grow up and be that same monster. Monsters exist. You are not a monster.
And I really...
And this is one of those ones where therapy is profoundly important. Getting to a therapist is profoundly important. Go ahead.
This is where I really want to drive the point home that intrusive thoughts, you don't desire them. Intrusive thoughts go against everything that you believe in.
Mm-hmm.
They're ego dystonic.
Ooh, like that.
Thank you. So, if you care about something a lot, like I care about my parents, for example, so I would have intrusive thoughts about them falling off the balcony or something like that. I personally used to work with children, and one of the reasons I had to stop working with children was because I would get such intrusive thoughts about it that I would feel like killing myself. And that's not good.
And remember, intrusive thoughts are just a thought. It's not something you're acting on. It's just something...
It's something you don't want at all.
It's something you don't want. So really, you're going through the scenarios of everything you do not want. You do not want this. Problem is, it tears into your soul sometimes. And that's where you get the freeze. As instead of the fight, the flood, or fight, flight, this is where you freeze. Because these are the ones that are profoundly painful. And these are the ones no one talks about, because this is a taboo subject.
Understanding of people wanting your intrusive thoughts to happen.
Right. Huge misconception. So an intrusive thought is something you do not want to play out. You don't want this. So this is why it scares people. And this is why getting therapy for OCD, because sometimes people don't even realize they have it because they might have one of these subcategories. And it's not, again, we go back to traditionally, the only thing we know about OCD is washing your hands or cleaning your house. There is so much more to it. And this is why we want people to get help.
Next one.
To the next one after that terrible moment.
Perinatal OCD.
Oh, this one's sad.
This one's very sad. The uncertainty and fear of harming one's newborn baby or child, either physically or sexually.
That is sad.
Perinatal OCD is a subtype of OCD that can be experienced by both female and male primary caretakers, not just the person who delivered the baby.
This can be very extreme and can be very sad. And this is another one that a lot of people just don't know about. And again, if you know someone who's going through this, please get them help.
And it's not about being a bad mom. These people
not at all. You're not a bad mom and you're not a bad dad.
If you have OCD, you are not a bad person because you have OCD. If you have any form of illness, you are not a bad person for having that illness.
Exactly.
That is something that is happening to you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And get support, get help. These things are fixable. Not everything's curable. There are things that are fixable. and we want you to fix, what you can. I'm 57 years old.
I want you to cope.
Oh, cope. Oh, love that one.
That's smart.
She's so smart. And again, I'm technically a normal person. I see a therapist every other week. I have my own issues.
We love therapy.
Love
One
therapy.
thing about us.
I will be a lifer in therapy. I love it. You have someone who's specifically there for you and with you, talking you through it. And, the therapist that I have, she's wonderful. She gives me homework, things like that. And it's a perfect way to find solutions.
The next subtype is moral OCD. Fear.
Or as I like to call it when Sid was little, the manners police.
Yeah, to be nice to everyone all the time or you would die.
Stop swearing or you're going to die.
Yeah. So it's the fear and uncertainty about possibly offending one's religious figure, such as God, possibly performing a behavior that doesn't align with one's morals or religion, or the fear of not achieving a desired afterlife. I had this thing when I was a kid that if I sneezed and someone didn't say bless you to me, I would say bless me.
Or she'd say, I sneezed. I sneezed. I sneezed. And it would go on and on and on and on. We're like, all right, Gesundheit. No, I sneezed. You couldn't say Gesundheit. You'd have to say, God bless you.
Yes, because my intrusive thought was that when I sneezed, and this truly sounds crazy, but if I sneezed, and no one said bless you to me, then the ground would open up beneath me and I would fall straight to hell.
Swallow her whole because you did not say. And if you said Gesundheit, she was still going to hell.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know German. Is relationship OCD. The uncertainty and fear related to knowing if one's partner is the one, or if their love for their partner is pure or right. Relationship obsessions can also focus on a partner's specific body part or their partner's history.
That one is hard because it. You could really misinterpret that one as if it's a female, oh, she's just an obsessive girlfriend, or she's just crazy. Don't date her. Where she might actually have this condition, or a guy. We've seen guys with these conditions, and we just look at it as someone just being dramatic, someone just going over the top. Well, unfortunately, they're not. Well, inside here they are, but this is one of those things when you know somebody who acts this way. I want you to think twice that maybe perhaps it isn't someone just a drama queen, but it's someone who actually has a condition and to be more thoughtful about it.
Yeah. I don't date, so I don't know anything about this one. But the next one, tinka. I have this one so bad. It's called emotional contamination OCD.
Oh yeah.
So,
lay it out, Sid.
The uncertainty and fear that contact with a person, object, or place will alter them psychologically. Emotional contamination OCD also involves the fear that the contaminated person's essence will be transferred onto the person with OCD.
Please explain.
So,
explain, Sid.
Like, a lot of my fear with that one is, if I see someone that I don't like, or I think is, not an exemplary human, I will avoid things that they do and that they like because
you don't want to mirror anything they have.
Exactly.
Yep. So try working in a coffee shop, as one does. Mm-hmm. And then occasionally you see these people and you're trying to be friendly, and then all of a sudden you meet someone who has less than...
They're a dick.
Some people are less than kind when they go into a coffee shop. They treat you like you're a server and you're there to serve them. Listen, these are not your minions. Please be kind to people in retail, people in customer service, all of that. These are not your minions.
Tip.
They are not beneath you.
Tip your barista.
On the contrary, they're doing something you're not willing to do or can't do. So be kind. Okay, that was my mommy thing. I had to get that off my chest. But so if she's at work and she encounters someone like this, well, then it's going to throw her off. It's going to throw her rhythm off. And something like this is one of those things that just throws your rhythm off. And Sid does have tics, so she might start ticking. She might start blinking. She might start wiggling her fingers. She might start tapping.
Blinking
is her biggest one. So now she's trying to process, and she's just blinking because she's frozen. She is frozen, and she's gone into her thoughts, and it's very hard for her to move forward. So this is actually one that can be more difficult. This is one of those, there's this saying that the world is more empathetic to a person who's in a wheelchair. But for people with OCD, the wheelchair is inside here. It's inside their head, and you can't see it. But you should still have as strong an empathetic heart to someone who has the wheelchair on the inside of their body.
Yes.
She also self-soothes, as you can see. She's a self-soother.
I was listening to a song. The next one is existential OCD.
This one's interesting.
Yes. The fear and uncertainty about the true purpose or meaning of one's life. And I've also seen this one, like, is the world real? Are we in a simulation? Like, stuff like that. And they obsess over it. I personally don't care. So we're living in a simulation. I still have to go to work. Like,
right. For these flat earthers and, all this stuff.
Mm.
So that one can be a tough one because that's definitely one of those ones that's way deep inside and, can cause people to become almost suicidal over it,
Mm-hmm.
And again,
it's like, what's the point of living?
What's the point? Why? So this is one, again, if you know someone who has this, please
be nice.
Be nice, but this is one you really want to encourage them to get help. Find a specialist, a therapist who specializes in OCD, and they will know how to help this person so they don't self-harm.
Good point. Okay. I forget what I was going to say, so we're just going to keep moving. Obsessing about obsessing.
Ooh,
the uncertainty and fear that one will never be able to stop obsessing or having anxiety and intrusive thoughts. The OCD subtype also involves the uncertainty related to whether they are engaging in treatment correctly or will recover from OCD.
We're all in recovery, Sid, from something.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's difficult. All right, next one.
That
much empathy.
Yeah.
What do we got
next? Sensory motor or hyper-awareness OCD. The uncertainty and fear that one will never stop noticing a sensation or feeling. Breath, eyes, blinking, hand tingling, a specific side of their body or body part itches, and so on. This one, oh my god. Like, it's so bad. Mm-hmm. I check my pulse a lot. What's happening in the back of my head? Like pulse checking, noticing how many breaths I'm taking, counting breaths.
Do I have a fever? Do I
does this look like I have a worm in my body?
Does this look like a rash to you? Do I have worms? Am I going to die? Oh my God, I got a headache. I think I have an aneurysm happening. She'll just, sometimes she knows how to make a joke out of it, but not often. It carries her into a very bizarre place. So, yeah.
Which I feel like that one also ties into health anxiety.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, I'm very fluffy today.
Which goes along with somatic symptoms. Which somatic symptoms, if you have somatic symptoms, I am so sorry. And
Yeah.
you're valid because
Yeah, it is valid. It is valid because your body. See, remember the way your brain works. If you're thinking it, it can manifest.
Mhm.
You can manifest a rash. You can manifest heart palpitations. You can manifest these things. Not to say they're not every person. If you're going to the emergency room and they're being dismissive, saying there's nothing wrong with you, there's nothing wrong with you. You know what? Nothing wrong with saying, can I see somebody in psych?
Yeah. Or that's something that I had to work so hard with my therapist on, of like, you can ask for a different doctor.
Yeah.
Oh my God. As soon as she told
If
me
you're in
that,
the emergency room, you can say, ask for another doctor. Ask for somebody in psych. Ask, you have the right. Period. Dot.
you have somatic symptoms, you don't know what is a real symptom of something and what is a somatic symptom of something. It's just, it all feels the same.
Yeah.
So if I go to do something and they're like, oh, no, it's just somatic, or oh, no, you just have OCD, but then they don't give a further explanation, then you don't know what's going on. And it's terrifying.
Right.
The guilt that comes with it.
Oh,
That's the
thank God I didn't raise you Catholic.
OCD
the guilt.
loves guilt. Guilt and like shame and all that. OCD's best friend.
Guilt and shame, OCD's best friend.
Perfectionism. The uncertainty and fear related to not being perfect. I just want to say that you can have perfectionism without having OCD. Perfectionism can live within itself wherever you are.
There are people who are perfectionists that don't have OCD. So there is a difference. So
you can also have it with like eating disorders can involve perfectionism. Depression can even lead to perfectionism because you're like, I don't feel I'm too depressed to do this, and so now I have to do it perfect because I have to make up for that.
Right, and that's where all that self-loathing comes in.
Yeah. So that's the subtypes that we have that I have written down. Let's talk about intrusive thoughts. I have a fun little experiment somewhere. So,
is it in that?
So you have perfect. You have a piece of paper.
I come prepared.
I want you to imagine I want you to think about a green apple. So, and now I'm going to start a timer. And now for 1 minute. And now I want you to actively not think about that green apple. Whatever you do, don't think about the green apple. And then I want you to write a tally mark each time within the 1 minute that you accidentally think about the green apple.
Can we do this for 30 seconds?
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait.
I'm losing at this point.
Wait. Okay. Go.
Okay, 30 seconds. Let's see. Jefferson Airship. See, I'm talking out loud to avoid it.
Okay.
So I'm just thinking of songs. I put shrimp. I'm having trouble. I'm going to just make a mark because it just keeps coming up. You know what song I have going through my head? Up and away.
You didn't do it right.
My beautiful balloon.
Okay. Shh. Okay.
So I didn't do this correctly because I wanted to get it so right. I did avoidance.
And that's a compulsion. Avoidance is a compulsion.
Yay! Yep. Yep, I did avoidance. I figured the more I talk out loud and the more I create a distraction, I wasn't going to let you win.
That was the entire cycle of OCD.
Thank you, ladies and
That
gentlemen.
was the intrusive thoughts to the compulsion to the negative feeling from the intrusive thought and compulsion.
That was fabulous.
Yeah.
I love that. Do I have OCD?
No.
Okay. Just checking.
So that is, and I hope you played along at home.
At home.
So that was an example of you literally cannot control intrusive thoughts.
Exactly.
They're gonna come no matter what.
And it just kept creeping in because I was fighting so hard. The harder I fought the thought, the more I thought about it.
That's how it is.
Dinka,
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So that was the green apple experiment.
How did we all do?
Probably badly. Probably.
That's okay. Give yourself a pat on the back. I love
And that's okay. It's okay to do badly. Because sometimes in life, things are just bad.
They are.
And that's okay.
They're upside down.
Yeah. One can experience intrusive thoughts. So, here's another fun little thing.
Am I doing another experiment?
Yeah, you don't have to write anything down, though. So, I want you to imagine a bookcase and then a light coming to the center of the bookcase.
Okay.
How many books is it illuminating?
4.
Okay, so that is what a typical intrusive thought would look like in a person who doesn't have OCD. It'll come, it's just 4 books, and then it goes on.
Correct.
Now, I want you to imagine the same bookshelf.
Okay.
But the light is the entire bookshelf.
Okay.
How many books are there?
How many books are there?
Yeah.
In the entire bookshelf?
Yep.
Oh, shit. 20?
Mm-hmm. So that's what intrusive thoughts are like for people with OCD. There's no filter like a typical brain would have to make you stop. You like you think, oh, I can't believe that I accidentally didn't hold that door open for that person, and now I look like a bad person.
Right.
And it goes away, and then maybe you'll think about it again, and you're like, yeah, but that's it.
Mm-hmm.
With someone with OCD, it's I didn't hold that door open for that person. I'm a horrible person. They hate me. Everyone who saw hates me. I'm a bad person. I'm a bad person. I'm a bad person. I'm a bad person.
Right. So let me ask you this. So when you get caught in a loop like that, what are the things you do? What are the tools you use, shall I ask, to make the situation better?
It depends on the type of intrusive thought. So for, like, let's say I'm having a intrusive thought that I'm doubting my OCD diagnosis.
Okay.
That I'll be like, my OCD would be like, you don't have OCD, you're in psychosis.
Gotcha.
If I'm caught in that loop, because that's an actual intrusive thought that I get, I will look up the definition for psychosis.
Oh.
And I will write down the definition and see where I fall within that definition. And most of the time, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
So I can then take that definition and be like, you're wrong!
Wrong!
Incorrect! False! And that's you literally have to treat your OCD like it's...
So it's kind of like...
It's your little enemy.
Right. So it's kind of like, when you're talking to yourself, you're not really talking to yourself. It's almost like a part of you. And it's at times, do you feel like you're almost like you're like you're schizophrenic or something? Does it...
My God, yeah.
Knowing you're not, but then you have these like two parts of you.
That's another intrusive thought I have, that I'm actually schizophrenic instead of having OCD.
Oh, so you're not.
Yeah.
You're good.
No, I know. I looked at the definition.
But that's very painful.
It is.
It's got to be very painful, to have that sort of internal struggle happening,
Mhm.
I mean, we all have internal struggles about different things in life, but that on a daily basis must be,
On a minute basis.
oh,
On a second basis.
please give Sid a virtual hug, ladies and gentlemen.
I keep it virtual. I don't want your germs.
Get so much germs. And that's the other thing I noticed. The older she got, the less willing she was to allow me to like hug her, to snuggle. So Sid, as a baby, was profoundly physical. I mean, she was just constantly snuggling and holding. She wanted to be put down. Part of it is because everybody was so high up and she wanted to see the world around her. But she was very physical and she was always hugging. I got a hug every day when she got up to go to school. I just constantly hugging. And then I noticed this slow drift where it was, don't touch me. You're holding me too tight. I got to go, and I'd be like, well, I love you. And she would, yeah. And she wasn't like dismissive the way she said it. It was like, yeah, I get it. I get it, Mom. You love me. But at the time, I didn't get it. I took offense to like, my child is dead. I'm going to die. My child doesn't want to hug me. So it took me a while to catch on.
Mm-hmm.
So if you know someone who doesn't want to be physical, doesn't want to hug, and because I'm a hugger, understand that there's something bigger going on. Not everybody knows how to ask for help. So, but we are going to be putting some links below for those who want to get help with OCD. Again, we highly recommend these books. Highly recommend these books for if you're struggling with OCD. Find a therapist that can help you. Find a friend. Reach out to a support group. Other people who have OCD similar to you. There's so many avenues of information out there where we can help each other move forward. And I really want that for you. Anyone who's out there struggling. Want to email us a question, or you have a subject that you would like us to explore, please go to chatting, that's TWO chatting @gmail.com. And we'd love to share thoughts and feelings and make this a very special channel for everyone. We thank you for being here today. We will be breaking this up into part 1 and part 2. But we thank you and be well. Blessings to you and your family.
Don't die.